What if everything you thought you knew about one of the most powerful figures in the music industry was a lie? What if the smiling, charismatic mogul you see on TV is actually the mastermind behind a network of manipulation, exploitation, and unspeakable secrets? In the early hours of a quiet morning, FBI agents stumbled upon something so chilling that it turned their investigation upside down. What was initially believed to be a routine financial audit of Diddy's empire suddenly morphed into something far darker. Behind a hidden steel door in his mother's Beverly Hills mansion, authorities uncovered an underground bunker that housed the disturbing web of documents, encrypted drives, and secret communications, all pointing to one terrifying conclusion: a covert operation deeply embedded within the entertainment industry. But what exactly did the FBI find that made this case a national security priority? Was Diddy truly just a cultural icon, or is he the puppet master behind a sinister machine that has operated unchecked for decades? As shocking details continue to emerge, the truth behind Diddy's rise to fame may be more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Stay tuned, because what was uncovered in that mansion could change everything.
Discovery of the bunker. The raid on Janice Combs' mansion was supposed to be a simple investigation, a deep dive into financial discrepancies linked to one of the biggest names in music. What federal authorities never expected to uncover was a hidden underground bunker that would change the course of the investigation forever. It all started with a subtle anomaly during the initial search. As FBI agents combed through the ground floor and common areas of the mansion, they noticed something unusual. Behind the wood paneling in the library, a faint crack appeared at the base, a narrow gap between two bookshelves. The agents had no idea it was the entrance to something far more sinister. After confirming there were no alarms or security systems linked to the area, they broke through the wall. What they discovered on the other side was a small elevator, hidden from view in the original architectural blueprints. The elevator led down to a basement level sealed off by a thick 20-centimeter steel door with a biometric lock. To their shock, the fingerprints used to open the door didn't match any known members of the Combs family, raising an immediate question: who had access to this secret space? As the steel door creaked open, agents were greeted by an eerie, sterile chamber. The basement was divided into three distinct zones: a document storage area, a digital equipment section, and a series of secure lockers. Inside the document storage section, agents found a collection of files, each more disturbing than the last. Among the papers was a binder containing the profiles of roughly 70 underage artists, all between the ages of 12 and 14. Their profiles read less like talent showcases and more like a disturbing catalog, complete with photographs and personal details, some of which were shockingly incomplete or crossed out. The more they dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a financial investigation anymore. What they had stumbled upon was a hidden network of power, control, and exploitation within the entertainment world.
The key players. As the investigation into the hidden bunker deepened, it quickly became clear that the true scope of this operation involved a select group of powerful individuals, each playing a role in maintaining a system built on secrecy, influence, and exploitation. At the center of it all was Sean "Diddy" Combs, the legendary mogul whose public persona as a music industry titan was nearly flawless. But the discovery beneath his mother's mansion raised an unsettling question. Was Diddy, the face of Bad Boy Records, the true orchestrator of a deeply hidden network? Or was he merely a pawn in a much larger, more dangerous operation? Janice Coombs, Diddy's biological mother and legal owner of the mansion, immediately became a figure of intense interest. Her apparent lack of knowledge about the secret bunker under her own home was met with skepticism. Though she was escorted from the house in a calm, controlled manner following the raid, her silence only fueled more suspicion. A statement from her legal team later claimed she had no idea about the underground chamber or its contents. However, that claim did little to quell growing doubts. Neighbors, too, began speaking out. Several recalled seeing strange activity at the mansion late at night. Black-tinted vehicles arriving around 2 or 3 a.m. and parked for hours, with drivers who seemed unfamiliar to the staff. One neighbor even mentioned seeing lights flickering from the basement during times when the rest of the house was dark. As for Justin Combs, Diddy's eldest son, his actions after the raid further raised alarm. Just hours after the FBI left the scene, Justin was found calling the family lawyer. But what was most telling was his decision to wipe his entire personal cloud storage. Investigators noted that this is a classic move made by those who anticipate being investigated. Diddy's network also included close associates, many of whom became part of the FBI's growing list of persons of interest. Names like Usher, Ray J, and Cassie Ventura began appearing in documents, emails, and even photos retrieved from the hidden drives. Though none of these figures had direct evidence linking them to the illegal activities, their proximity to Diddy and their appearances at secretive events made their involvement worthy of investigation. Each of these individuals, from Diddy to his family and associates, seemed to be linked by an invisible thread, a web of power, influence, and secrecy that had been maintained for years, hidden in plain sight.
The evidence. As the FBI sifted through the evidence collected from Janice Combs's mansion, it became increasingly clear that this wasn't just a case of financial misconduct or isolated wrongdoing. The materials uncovered painted a chilling picture of a well-organized operation, one that had been carefully concealed for years under layers of encryption, secrecy, and false identities. Among the most disturbing items found were encrypted digital drives containing over 700 video files, most in formats with no metadata to trace their origin. Initial analysis of these files by the FBI's tech experts was enough to trigger immediate concern. One analyst reported, "The content is extremely disturbing. I can't describe it due to its sensitive nature, but it's sufficient for initiating prosecution for child exploitation." These hard drives, alongside several USB devices marked with cryptic labels like Panic, represented a treasure trove of potentially incriminating footage and communications that were being carefully guarded. In addition to the physical documents found in the bunker, revealed much more about the true scope of the operation. Among the most chilling was a list of 70 names, many of which belonged to young, underage artists between the ages of 12 and 14. Each profile contained personal photos, school records, and biographical information, some of which were incomplete or crossed out, suggesting the identities of these young people were being hidden or manipulated. One FBI investigator noted that the files resembled a catalog, as if someone was choosing off a menu. Even more disturbing was the fact that over 40% of the photos came from the same room, a room that resembled an interrogation setup with harsh lighting and black flooring. Private invitations to secret gatherings were also uncovered. The invitations bearing no specific addresses, but only dates, QR codes, and ominous titles like Night of Discovery and The Party of Light revealed a system of exclusive, hidden events. Many of these invitations were linked to the Hopiar Foundation, a nonprofit Diddy had publicly endorsed as a youth art incubator. But in the context of the evidence found, this organization's true purpose seemed increasingly suspect. Perhaps most troubling of all were the emails retrieved from an account associated with Diddy's known alias, Mr. Love 202028@gmail.com. In one particularly incriminating message dated March 16, 2023, the sender instructed, "Pick 3. Make sure they're obedient and not resistant. The newer ones are easier to manage. Don't pick anyone with family accompaniment. I'll send the gift." This message, along with others like it, suggested the orchestration of a system built on manipulation, control, and a chilling disregard for the well-being of vulnerable individuals. The pieces were starting to come together, and they pointed to a much larger, much sinister network, one that was intertwined with the entertainment industry, power, and money. What the FBI had uncovered inside that mansion was no mere scandal. It was the beginning of something far darker.
The operation's scope. As the evidence continued to mount, it became apparent that the operation uncovered inside Janice Coombs' mansion wasn't just a rogue criminal act. It was a meticulously crafted, deeply organized network that spanned far beyond the walls of the Beverly Hills estate. What was initially assumed to be an isolated case of financial misconduct quickly transformed into the investigation of a sophisticated criminal enterprise, one that linked the entertainment industry, international trafficking, and political connections. At the heart of the operation was the parties, secretive, invitation-only events designed not just for celebration, but for control. These weren't your typical Hollywood parties. They were exclusive gatherings, held in private locations and shrouded in secrecy. Each invitation came with an alphanumeric code, allowing access only to those on the list. The codes were tied to specific profiles, containing extensive details about the attendees, their background, connections, and even risk assessments in case the event was exposed. But the most chilling aspect of these gatherings was the guest hierarchy. At the top were the VIPs, wealthy investors, influential figures from the music industry, and political elites. Beneath them were the organizers, the trusted inner circle of Diddy's operation, who managed the logistics and ensured the events went off without a hitch. But the most disturbing guests were the young performers, often minors, who were invited under the guise of talent scouting. These youths, many of whom had no formal contracts, no guardians, and no legal protections, were funneled into these events through a carefully orchestrated recruitment system. A key player in this recruitment operation was the Tanya R. Foundation, a nonprofit organization that claimed to support minority youth in the arts. But upon closer examination, investigators found that the foundation had no public performances, no community outreach, and was primarily funded through anonymous sources. It became clear that the foundation was being used as a front, a gateway for funneling young talent into the hidden world of Diddy's private events. But the operation didn't end at the borders of the U.S. International financial transactions linked to entities in the Middle East and the Caribbean were traced to these gatherings, further suggesting that this wasn't a domestic operation. Instead, it appeared to be part of a global trafficking network, disguised as arts development programs and youth talent training collaborations. The evidence strongly hinted at transnational human trafficking, a chilling reality that shifted the investigation from a domestic case into an international crisis. What made this network even more frightening was its ability to operate in plain sight. Under the cover of fame, wealth, and the entertainment industry's glamour, it had thrived for years, carefully hidden from public scrutiny. The further investigators dug, the more they realized this was not an isolated incident, but part of a much larger, deeply embedded system.
Diddy's past and suspicious events. As the layers of this dark network were peeled back, investigators began to trace its roots to a disturbing pattern of past incidents that had long been dismissed as mere controversies or misunderstandings. Suddenly, these events, once viewed through the lens of celebrity gossip and media spin, took on a far more sinister context, each one a potential clue in the ongoing investigation into Diddy's hidden empire. One of the earliest incidents that now raised eyebrows was the 1999 nightclub shooting in New York. At the time, Diddy was dating Jennifer Lopez and was present at the scene when 3 people were injured. Though he was arrested on charges of illegal firearm possession, the case abruptly fizzled out. Witnesses changed their stories, physical evidence vanished, and Diddy was acquitted. The media quickly moved on, focusing instead on Jennifer Lopez's now iconic green dress. But newly re-examined FBI files from that night revealed a strange detail. A car registered to one of Diddy's companies left the scene 20 minutes before the shooting, purportedly carrying a bag of metallic objects. This detail, once overlooked, has now been reopened as part of the investigation and raises unsettling questions about what was really happening that night. More recently, the 2018 death of Kim Porter, Diddy's ex-girlfriend and mother to 3 of his children, came under renewed scrutiny. Officially ruled as pneumonia-induced respiratory failure, her death was met with an outpouring of grief from Diddy and a lavish funeral. However, a close friend of Kim's revealed she was planning to go public with something. She had recently reached out to her lawyer to revise custody agreements and asset clauses tied to Diddy. In hindsight, these actions now seem like precautions, possibly aimed at preparing for a larger confrontation. This pattern of suspicious events, unexplained disappearances, sudden silences, and legal maneuvering was starting to make sense in light of the investigation's revelations. Could these incidents be part of a larger effort to conceal Diddy's involvement in an underground criminal system?
Public reaction. The raid on Janice Combs' mansion sent shockwaves through the public, igniting a firestorm of speculation, outrage, and disbelief. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs had been a beloved figure in American culture, an icon of success, power, and philanthropy. But as the details of the FBI's findings began to leak, fans, celebrities, and the public at large started to question everything they thought they knew about the mogul. On social media, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Hashtags like Diddy Exposed, hashtag Protect Our Kids, and hashtag Dark Side of Fame surged to the top of Twitter and Instagram trending charts. Unlike past celebrity scandals, where public opinion was often divided, this time there was a near universal sense of shock and betrayal. Longtime fans who had grown up listening to Diddy's music and watching him build his empire began posting heartfelt messages about how the news had shattered their childhood memories. One fan, mourning the loss of a childhood idol, commented on Instagram, "I grew up with his music, but now I can't unsee the truth." Several high-profile figures from the entertainment industry also distanced themselves from Diddy. Usher, a longtime collaborator, quietly unfollowed Diddy on all platforms, while Mary J. Blige canceled a planned charity collaboration. Even 50 Cent, who has a long-running feud with Diddy, expressed disbelief. His comments weren't mocking, but rather a somber realization that something far deeper was at play. He said, "If what they found is real, this thing goes deeper than I ever thought," echoing the growing concern that the story was just beginning. On major online forums like Reddit, users revisited past incidents involving Diddy, hyper-private parties, cryptic accusations from former artists, and lawsuits that had mysteriously vanished. What once seemed like isolated rumors now appeared to be pieces of a much larger, more disturbing puzzle. Young performers, backstage crew members, and dancers began speaking out in veiled posts, sharing their own experiences of manipulation and pain within Diddy's circle. The reaction from Diddy's camp was predictable: swift and firm legal pushback. His attorney released a statement the day after the raid, categorically denying any involvement in criminal activity, calling it part of a malicious media campaign. Yet, the damage was done. As the FBI's investigation gained traction and more details emerged, the public's belief in Diddy's innocence began to erode.
Conclusion. As the FBI continues to sift through the vast amounts of evidence uncovered in Janice Combs' mansion, one thing is becoming clear. The investigation into Diddy's empire is far from over. What began as a seemingly isolated financial inquiry has now revealed a dark and far-reaching criminal network, one that could send shockwaves through the entertainment industry, politics, and beyond. The truth that is emerging is more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. This isn't just a scandal involving one celebrity,
It's a sophisticated system of power, exploitation, and secrecy that has been operating under the radar for years. Diddy's public image as a music mogul and philanthropist has been shattered, but the deeper question remains: how much of this has been covered up, hidden, or ignored by those with the power to keep it buried? As more names are potentially linked to this operation, the investigation is now casting a wider net, seeking to unravel the full extent of this web of corruption. From the international connections to the political figures involved, the operation appears to be far more complex and dangerous than anyone realized. The FBI's work is ongoing, with thousands of documents yet to be decrypted and hundreds of individuals potentially implicated in this global network of human exploitation. The public reaction to these revelations has been swift and unforgiving, with a growing demand for accountability. Celebrities, fans, and activists are all calling for justice, and the momentum behind the investigation is building with every passing day. As the truth continues to emerge, one thing is certain: silence is no longer an option. The time for answers has come, and the world is watching closely. What happens next could be the beginning of a much larger reckoning, one that forces America to confront a hidden side of fame and power that has been concealed for too long.